Already happened. Cosmic Mother is so intelligent that what she did was, she gave me the means to revenue that apple.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. She gave me the means to revenue it. I only pulled one apple off of one tree, yet she gave me 5 to 8 seeds to make 5 to 8 more trees to yield at least one more apple.
Yes.
And we can't get the unity thing together, and this is what we're supposed to be stewards of, is the apple garden?
Islam.
Yep.
So what I want us to get when it comes to unity and why we are Moorish Americans, what you really gonna get to when you go back to that mindset of your ancient foremothers and forefathers, there was no IRS. When you get to your ancient foremothers and forefathers, they weren't these things, but what there always was a battle within self. My mother's breasts have given us up, so ultimately what we living out here.
So come on, do 25.
Chapter 25.
Chapter 25?
Yeah, chapter 25.
I got it wrong already.
All right, cool.
You can read it.
Right, circle 7?
Yeah.
Cycle 7.
Call it out.
Cycle 7.
Chapter 7. Holy Quran, chapter
What was the
25.
email say?
Holy covenant for the Moorish nation.
This is not a circle that died Anyway.
A holy covenant of the Asiatic nation.
The Asiatic nation, that's right.
You ready?
Yes.
Go ahead.
1. Ye are the children of one father. What does father mean etymologically?
Paternal,
I'm sorry?
paternal,
Fraternity.
fraternity, paternal,
Maternity?
paternal,
Paternity.
paternity. Yeah, not mock, not with no M,
Not M.
with a P.
But when you do the P and you go and search the etymology of the word P, where does the P lead you to?
Mother.
Yeah, yeah.
It does lead you back to
To the mata, you're right. Correct.
right? So correct me if I'm wrong. Is not father, even though, like the word God, is first an action before we give it an anthropomorphic being, okay?
Come on with it,
Is
come on.
not father a process?
Yeah.
Right, a process.
The mother
Chooses. Islam,
fibrillate the ovum.
Islam, that's it right there.
Bring life to the planet.
That's it right there.
Then us being that which she used to process, we become now called the process, right?
Islam.
So can I read it now as ye are the children of one process?
Yes, you can. Yes.
Chosen by mother.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just want to make sure it's
Islam, yeah.
provided for by her care then. Right? Okay. And the breast of one mother. Right? So she already chose a process. Let me tell you how she chose that process. Prophet Noble Ali said she chose that process by this. Know thyself and thy process which mother uses to call upon all matriarchal law pertaining to the zodiac.
Islam.
Islam.
Is that not
Amen.
what father
That's right, that's right.
law means?
Islam.
That's right.
Amen.
That's it.
Okay. So now one mother's breast have given you suck. So if one mother's breast giving us suck, right? The first schoolroom is the what? Womb.
Right, in the womb.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that means
first
we
university
all
is the
have
womb.
her one mind, right?
Right.
So if we all have her one mind, what we're going through on the planet is her own self-hate conflict. It's just manifesting you, me, you. We're all one. Balian tells you the all is mine. All is energy, the all is mine. Right? I'm talking about unity. This is consular court, right?
Yes, sir.
Restoration.
Yes.
Restore, right?
Yes.
What's the scripture, Brother Troy, with the restoration where if one lamb was taken, 5 were restored. If 1 oxen was taken, 4 were restored. It's the principle of 120. Which I know, even though that
I mean, when I gave you talents and you had a responsibility to maximize or expand on the talents, is that what you're talking about?
It was somebody stole something and it was a restoration. I can't remember. I'm sorry.
And you must restore.
It was something where they had to restore, but in that restoration, it was 1/5. It was dealing with the principle of 1/5. Do you know what I'm saying? I'll find it. But so moving right along. Ayat 2. let the bonds, that's funny, because Brother Connection was talking a lot too about bond, and you bring it up too as well, Brother Taj. Yet, what's so funny about the word bond, when you check the mysteries of the Solid Brotherhood of the East, it's that golden rod, that golden rope of love, am I correct?
Bond.
Yes.
Right? So that would be the bond in this point, not something on some 65% cotton, paper, okay, so to speak. Just for this one perspective, not for any and all things. It's just one angle out of 360 at least. You know what I mean? So don't take it as me saying that this is what it is. Therefore, unite thee with thy brothers. Unite. There it is again. Unity. Page 1703, Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. Now we're here on page 38 on my Holy Quran. It's like pretty sure it's a different page. But now you can take. I can show you. You can
see
also,
the link.
Yeah, I was talking about how it's an affidavit, the Holy Quran.
Yes.
So you can go into the Etymology in the Quran. You can go into Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition in the Quran. And you will see that Prophet Noble Drew Ali means the thought of Allah manifested in flesh. That's
Yes.
Prophet Noble, all-knowing. Drew, check the etymology that deals with the truth tree. We're from near the Baltimore Corporation, so we know about Drew, Id, Hill. Okay, so that's there, that's truth.
Islam.
Ali, master. So he's the thought of Allah manifested in flesh. All-knowing truth master. And it's proof when you go and analyze it.
His
He
work.
ain't making it up. He ain't has no collection plate either. Because we want you to be able to unite. Because it's gonna happen. But the unity has to happen for those of us that, I still watch Joseph Prince. I ain't gonna lie to you. For the certain reason, don't shake your head, brother. I'm looking right at you. Because for those of us that come out of that, well, we can actually use that as our footstool now.
All right. Okay.
I had to grab a bag the other day. Then I had to grab a chair to step up to get what I needed to get yesterday. Use that chair as my footstool, didn't I? So once again, it's like energy. So we can also take the bibliotext.
Right.
Take the Holy Bible. And there's things that you can compare, and I'm gonna get to that just because you took me here. But I wanted to show something because it all really pertains to when Brother Taj is okay.
That's part of the agenda.
Okay.
So go right ahead.
Okay, cool. So I want us to be able to unite not only here within ourselves and then amongst ourselves, but all of these are pieces to the puzzle. If you guys don't know, and I'm sorry if there's an age gap, but I ask everybody to go and look for this cartoon. You will not be disappointed. And for those that study symbolography and language, you can already see what's there.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? They have a cartoon?
What is the premise of Inuyasha?
I never checked out the
Okay,
cartoon.
the premise of Inuyasha is he's a half demon, half human who has to go across the world, right, to find these different jewel shards across the world, and he's got to bring this jewel together, right? This is a really rough painting of a jewel, but I'll try my best and just trying to make it seem like something.
It's shining.
You know what I'm saying? Anyway, but I'm just saying, so he's got to take all these shards and put this jewel together, right? To become a full human being. One more time. He's got to take these jewel shards
And put them together.
and put them together so he can be in full life. In propria persona juris.
Yeah.
They're telling you, if you guys pay attention to Hank Saban, if you watch anime, Hank Saban don't play, he's telling you everything. I think Hank Saban is a national. Or a national doing business as Hank Saban. Beloved Dominic, yes, Islam.
How do you attain the unity that you speak of with the different energies of the jewels?
Okay. Excellent question. Excellent question.
Restate the question.
Go ahead, yeah, restate the question.
How do you maintain or keep or bring the unity of the people who will be powerful, you know, as you're speaking of, with the different energies of the people? How do you make them flow?
Gotcha. Did you leave your fingers home? No, don't. I'm being serious.
I know, brother.
I'm asking this question for perspective purposes.
No.
Because you're able to hold the mic right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which means your fingers worked in tandem with your feet, correct? Which means that there was already a unified thought of all the members of your body so that you can politic.
So, and that's good. But I tell my fingers what to do, and
Yes.
they do it.
Yes.
So if the members and the energies are not a part of my fingers,
Then they're not of the same mind is my point.
right?
Cognizance.
Gotcha.
Islam.
Gotcha.
So what we must do is, where's the culture, Brother Dominic? Where does the culture lie? In
language.
what? In language. Brother Dominic! Don't be mad, I do it too. You know, they told me to shut up. Remember the other day, a couple weeks ago, when I said something I spoke up and you looked back and I was like, my bad.
So what happens when
That's how I do though.
what
That's how I
happens
do.
when the people seem as though they speak the same language?
Okay, yes.
However, the energy is different, and they project something different. They sound like they are of the same because they use the same words.
Yes.
But the energy behind the jewels
Yes.
project something different.
We living out something.
Judge
y'all.
it by, measure it by principle. And then I'll give the floor to Brother Taj, because he's raising his hand. to answer
Connotation,
your
denotation. No.
question. Oh,
Connotation, denotation.
okay.
Interjection. Connotation, denotation. That's it. Now, cognizance. Related to consciousness. Europeans, for social controls, they have an educational conference every year. And one of the focus things that they've always done with our community is systematically and deliberately introduce and reinforce connotative linguistics.
Yes.
Being cognate of that, i.e. conscious of that, you make the dissemination by being conscious of the etymon, i.e. denotation, distinguished from the connotation.
Yes.
So when someone speaks connotatively without qualifying it, then they're usually either ignorant of what they're saying or deliberately creating a semantic argument for deceitful purposes, which is what we're subject to, which is why two people can use the same words. One is the presentment and one is the meaning, yet they're both accepted as the meanings.
Right.
Now, so with the knowledge of connotation and denotation separation, i.e. separating the wheat from the chaff, learning the rules, and this is why you understand that culture is in the language. Why is culture in the language? Because every word has a mother, a classification. If you want to know what it means, go to its etymon, which is why the Europeans, by deliberation, do not teach etymological principles in school systems where our children are domiciled. So that's an obvious answer to your question. It's simply that someone was speaking connotatively, deliberately for social controls, and we don't suspect it. That's all.
I want to add to your wisdom, Brother Taj, because I think what Brother Dominic is also speaking to, correct me if I'm wrong, even in the language that it may even be the presentment connotation, and the meaning, the denotation, one only brings the presentment, right?
Yeah.
What I think you're also speaking to as well is what happens when they're not being consistently what they present and someone is noticing that.
It is.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what you're speaking
That's
to,
exactly
correct?
what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Caveat emptor.
Exactly. Buyer beware. Okay? So basically, so this is where I will go with this. Ye shall know the
Truth.
and the
Truth.
Mind
will make you
free.
Okay. There's something that's missing in there. Not because I say so. I'm saying for conceptual reasons. So you can actually see this. Truth is second principle. Love is the first one. All right? They're inherent. So you gotta.
That's a big one.
Yes.
That
Come on
one-
with it.
That one is always spoken of.
Yes.
The action
Mm-hmm.
behind the love
Yes.
do not coincide
Doesn't match.
with when it's said.
Yes.
We say it's the first principle.
Mm-hmm.
How do we act out the first principle literally?
Well, we can all do this. We can all do this. You want me?
Islam, good
I'll take a break. I mean, but I can get right to it real quick.
But all I'm saying is Drew Ali has given you the principles. He says, establish unto thyself principles of action. And what would be the principles of action?
Yes.
They're action. They're action words.
That's where I was about to go.
Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice is action. And what does he say? He wants active Moors, not passive Moors.
Yes.
He wants active Moors. So act on like you know what love is.
Yes. That's what I was going to say. Because if you know the truth, you can only be what you know, so you'll set yourself free. Because the thing about love is this. We may have concepts of already of what we may know is love or what we feel may be love. It has a certain ring to it.
Yes.
Despite what's actually said, when one would actually analyze the record, instead of looking at it today, let's look at the record. And when you analyze the consistencies or lack thereof, because if you are any type of engineer, let's say HVAC, for example, I've done HVAC, okay? If I wanted to really analyze how great the heat from indoor can be expelled to outdoor, I'm going to pay attention for a duration of time, its operation.
I agree.
Not when I just hit the switch and it go king, and I go to the register. I'm like, ain't no air coming out yet. Well, that's because the squirrel cage motor has to run for a bit. We gotta make sure that contactor kicks off the compressor. Then when the compressor starts pumping that liquid into a vapor, because you can't actually, put liquid through a compressor or you'll slug it. You see what I'm saying? Then you're gonna start moving stuff, and it's called the cold beer effect. So we was talking about this riding up. Cold beer effect. I can show you how the cold beer effect ties into what you're saying. Okay? It's called capillary reactance. High pressure chases low pressure.
Yes.
Chases high pressure. Capillary reactance is in everything.
Islam.
One example of that is, even though one may be looking at some low pressure, and you're like, man, why this low pressure is doing this and this and that and that and that? Whole time you feeding off of it, because high pressure chases low pressure. President, cabinet.
There you go.
Not cabinet, president. You do see what I'm saying? So what we'll do in that cold beer effect, you said a cold beer, and I'm just saying that because we all come from Negro black color life. We know cold beer effect. So let me be connotated for a second.
I gotta say 40.
Okay. Okay, 40 on the concrete on the steep effect. This kind of style. Anyway, there is actually a heat transfer that is occurring. And I want you to really grasp this concept, okay? Because you are asking, how do I know that this liquid is going to refresh me? It says on the label, ice cold. It says on the label, refreshing, right? You can test the ice cold part of it by doing this. You can feel it first, or you can leave it there and watch it and notice what is called the principles of thermodynamics. What happens is two heat transfers. The first one is called sensible heat. It's the same thing that happens in your air conditioning coils. The outdoor ambient, or what is outside of the bottle, is warmer or a higher pressure than the contents of the bottle.
Condensation.
So now you're probably thinking, hold on. If that's the case, then if something from outside goes inside, they can't share the same space.
Exactly.
So there's another heat transfer that happens. It's called latent heat.
Latent heat.
You call it sweating.
Condensation.
Excuse me.
Exactly.
Get back.
But what I want you to know what's actually happening is that
I mean, we'll
we
get some.
wow that we was talking about this. I want you to notice also what you're talking about is states of mind. This is why we must, no matter what, give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Even those that may be saying, oh, you know what, Prophet Noble Drew Ali was a... I was watching Cujo coming up before we pulled up, so he was playing some cat that was saying, Prophet Noble Drew Ali is a Mason. Now, you got some boys that's going to be like, Duncan McLeod. Then you got some boys that's going to be like, let me go send this brother a couple bucks. Because what you want to make sure is that he knows what he's talking about first, because you can tell that he doesn't, because he sounds emotional. You know what I'm saying? Because what is actually occurring is that he's going off of what he feels and not what he has read. This is what we really have to go off of. So, I want you to know there's 3 states to water. Let's take it down from the cold beer to cold water. I want you to know there's 3 states, statuses, pertaining to water. And we're talking about energy transfer right now. Because you're saying, how can I not feel that transfer of energy? It may be, because once again, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Okay? So we may not have a certain perspective yet based on where we have or have not been yet.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because there's been times where I might have asked a question, and that question that I asked, the response that I got, I didn't like the response. And in my head, I'm going, hey, yo, you knew what I meant. Why you answer it like that? But what I did really in the inside, Islam,
Because energy comes in many forms. It can come in jewels, it can come in all kinds of forms.
yes, because sometimes you can learn what not to do,
Islam, good is your power. Good is your power.
period. You can learn what not to do through that example. Because when you measure things by principle and you feel something that's not love, then maybe at this point of time, you're perceiving whatever you're seeing is not love, and maybe that being is not vibrating on that frequency.
Islam.
Maybe.
Islam.
Because full disclosure must be had, and that's settlement in Black's Law Dictionary and legal parlance and meaning of the minds. And if that hasn't happened, there has been no due process of law. So what I really want to really get to with that, okay, with the water and the states of mind, alrighty? When you really look at heat transfer, I want you to tell me right now, how many states of water can we make? Off the top of your head, go. What's one?
Ice.
What's the second one?
Steam.
There you go. What's the other one? Which is liquid. That's what I was looking for. Because water is what we're analyzing. I wanted you to tell me its states. Human beings are what we're analyzing. Are they U.S. citizens? Are they African American, Negro, Black, Color? Are they national? You see what I'm saying? So let's look at the states
State of
of it.
affairs.
Period. So the affair pertaining to ice, its status is to what?
Freeze.
No,
Well,
ice.
it's
Ice. What's Brother Taj just said?
Say.
Status
I didn't
of
understand the question.
affairs.
Oh, right. So
That affair
What was the
that
question?
ice is tending to with its status is to do what? No.
Make it
Solid.
cold.
There you go.
right. Cool. Change
Now
the
we're getting
temperature.
to purpose and functionality
Right. All right. I got it.
pertaining to the state in which that water is in.
Right. All right. Right.
So, if we're thirsty and we're looking for love and quenching our thirst, we can't keep going to ice and steam.
I get you. Yeah.
Maybe we're not ready for either one of those, and we need to just find
Fine.
what we need to find that we're comfortable with, because we're all where we're supposed to be, actually.
Yeah.
Okay? Now that is ice from 0 to 32 degrees
Right.
Fahrenheit. There's 4 different scales. You got Fahrenheit, Celsius, Kelvin, and Rankine.
Right.
Okay? But let's stick with what we know on the Fahrenheit scale. Alrighty? So ice, that's one state. Once we reach,
32.
see, I gotta draw it out. If I draw it out, you'll see it.
Right.
Raise the board so you can see.
Right, let's do this, because I just want to take out what I have wrote, right? Alright, so let's do these steps, right? I don't want to erase that.
You
Alright.
can erase it, man. We didn't study it.
Alright,
You got it.
alright.
5 on the left, 2 on the right.
It's long. 0 to this would actually be 33. Because 32 is here. But this is where,
It's no longer
It
frozen.
converts.
Right.
no, come on, think now. No, what's the word?
Mutates?
We're talking states of mind here.
All right.
Elevate.
Let's see.
Changes.
That's what I'm-
Technically,
yeah.
it's change.
Yeah, that's
But
what
I
I'm-
want you to think transmuting it.
Transmute, all right.
Cardinal.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Brother Taj, but I think it's transmutation I want you to think at this moment.
All
Okay?
Alright, we'll go with
Okay?
that.
Dealing with Yeshua, talking in chapter 17 about the states that he was able to change. I think that's chapter 17 in the Holy Quran. All right? So, now, at this point is where we're experiencing the change, and you're actually going from, if I'm not mistaken, this is now, of course, this is your 33, of course, on that line. And here would be actually your 211. So you know here you're solid. You know here you're liquid. And here you're spirit.
Okay.
Or some would say vapor.
Great.
Some people would say
Breath.
gas.
Yeah.
You could say breath as well, if you would like to. Right? And that's going from, actually, it's 211, actually, about right here. Yeah, it's about 211 and it's 212. Because you gotta allow for that state, you gotta allow for that exorcism and baptism to happen. Right here. All right, so what happens is, let's say we are
Just ice.
that's you giving the benefit of the doubt in anything until it shows a consistency of error. In that consistency of error and you being an engineer, okay, an engineer, right? With you doing that and you're on the anodic flow of energy, the upflow, the path in which the current is thought to take, right? So since you're on that flow of the energy, whatever you observe in anybody's state of mind, this is your solution. I'm not talking about the book completely. I'm talking about the cover.
Picture.
Out of the cares of the world.
What do you notice about whom you and I come from?
Sleep.
She's what?
Sleep.
What's another word for her? State.
Unconscious.
Mm. Right? The status of the child is determined by whom?
Mother.
Status of the mother, status of the
You
child.
may be witnessing someone's mother's teachings
Ooh.
that they're still exercising.
Ooh, ooh,
Design.
ooh.
And the bell goes off.
Yeah.
But remember this. But remember this. Though she's unconscious, at least she's in the prophet's hands.
Design.
Mm-hmm.
Though mother is unconscious, at least she's in the thought of the law manifested in flesh. So even though her mind state may be somewhere, at least she's in the conditions of a protector,
Mm-hmm.
which is what Old Canaanite Temple, Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Moorish Science Temple of America were meant for those coming off of that dogma, opiate belief system, so that they can be able to rehabilitate. We from near Baltimore, we know
Yep.
about the butte clinics when you're getting cats off of heroin. Moorish Science Temple of America is a butte clinic for the spirit,
Yep, we're in the hospital.
period. That's what we're noticing. So much of us are really dealing with the fact that one mother's breasts have given us up, chapter 25. And granted, though we can look at people's immediate situations and their immediate states of mind, take a glass of water, freeze it, take it out, and then boil it. And then try to catch the vapor. Oh, there's a process that you can catch the vapor. See, it's not just, see, they only show you 3 processes. It's actually 5.
Distilling.
Close. you have, this is called freezing. To make something solid, the process is freezing. So there's a process to create a state. Process, create the state. Freezing creates the solid state.
Yes.
Okay? What they call thawing. Some people call it thawing or melting. From the ice state, you get liquid. Right? From the liquid state, you can get
Steam or vapor?
yes. That's called boiling.
Yeah.
There's two more things that they're missing. It's called sublimation and deposition.
Okay.
Deposition. Cause of action. Anyway, so with that being said, states of mind again. How do we get the vapor to now either be liquid again, or take the vapor to a solid, or take a solid straight to vapor? So how do we skip the liquid part? Sublimation is being able to take solid to a vapor. Everybody's seen that before. Can't tell me you haven't. How many people seen solid go to a vapor instantly in front of your face?
Yeah, I have.
What is it called?
Evaporation.
No. What's it? It's white and it's dry.
Dry ice.
There you
Dry ice.
go.
Oh, dry
It
ice.
goes
Yes, it does.
immediately
Yeah, it does.
from
Yes.
solid
Yes, it does.
to vapor. So
Yeah.
you're seeing the states change without liquidity happening.
Mm-hmm.
In a process called sublimation. The root being sublime.
Sublimation.
The sublime Gnostic degrees. Anyway, now the fifth one is deposition, because now we know how to immediately. This is when he was able to, with love divine, change his one state to another state. Chapter 17.
Yeah.
Right? Still going through unity, and then I'm gonna get off of this. That's why I said I'm gonna yield it for half an hour.
It's all right, brother.
Islam. Deposition is what you see when you bring food from the grocery store and put it in your freezer, and then you see frost depositing itself onto layers inside your freezer. Okay? So sometimes you can get things to go from a vapor to something solid. And actually, one can use all these states in a way to rehabilitate those that we observe with unbalanced status changing.
Islam.
You see what I'm saying?
I do.
Because what we'll do at first is we be ready to draw the sword so quick. So quick. Right? Ready to draw the sword. So quick.
Yeah.
So quick, like, yo, look at him.
Oh,
Look
stop.
at you and her.
Mercy.
Right? Look at that, speck in your eye. See, look, check this out. That's the speck, that's the log. Because the speck in your brother's eyes, you pointing one finger, but the log in your eyes, the three fingers pointing back at you.
That's right.
So even when these people in these so-called courts, it's consular court, right? They bring an accusation, what they really saying then?
You're guilty.
And there we go, whole time. Whole time these people guilty saying you owe me. You turned on your lights this many times a month, and that means that's 527.36 on this presentment, whether you know law or not. That's what you owe me. But if we all had our mindsets unified, because one more time, unity in the law of estates. We just talked about 5 different estates pertaining to water, which cleanses the body. Right?
Yes.
Okay. In the law of estates, the peculiar characteristic. Okay. The peculiar characteristic of an estate held by several. All severals raise their hand, same, several, I guess, maybe, because we part and parcel, so we being part, that what makes us severed. So in those severances or several, correct me if I'm wrong, Brother Taj, if I get off etymologically, that means we're doing this joint tenancy being several that are part and parcel to the estate. Okay. By several in joint tenancy and which is fourfold, viz. So keep this in mind, in your perspective, unity of interest. Unity of title. The unity of title comes from the back of, yes, Islam.
Keep on going. I just want to interject. First paragraph, chapter 29, Circle 7 Quran. Read it.
That's part of
That's part of it too.
That's part of the
Questions.
Yeah,
agenda.
keep on track. Please keep on track.
That's part of the agenda.
Okay.
So like we said, we got this. If you look at your paperwork, it says chapter 25, 29, I think 28, 29.
Should be 28 and 29, yeah.
28, 29. So it's part of the agenda, so we're keeping on point. Let's keep it on point.
Okay,
All right,
First
so-
paragraph,
Okay.
29. Go ahead.
Okay. Hold on, let me find it. Give me 1 second, I got it for you. I'll just read the beginning of chapter 29. Hold on, 27, here we go. Chapter 29, it says magistrate and subject, I call it mother and son.
Islam.
Yeah.
Ayat 1. O thou, the favorite of heaven, higher self thinking, whom the sons of men, minds, man is mind, so men would be minds, thy equals have agreed, which means there was a constitutional convention,
Islam.
to raise to sovereign power and set as a ruler, one who measures, over themselves. Consider, that's with the stars, so there's astrology.
Yes.
Consider the ends. That's finance, actually. Because when you look up finance, isn't finance a means to an ends in Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition? Prophet Noble Ali said, I need finance and I need it bad.
Bad, yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I'm bringing all the synonyms together. Consider the ends and importance of their trust. Far more than the dignity and height of thy station. I am the grand sheik that says I will be the leader guy of your birthright and not share this with you. That's okay.
Good.
1982, there's a round table, and now we're here.
Yeah.
If I remember that, because that was 2 years before I was even thought of.
Yeah.
All right, come on, let me
All
go
right.
back. It says, let the bonds of affection.
Yes, 25, yes.
Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers.
In the mic, mother. Please and thank you. It's
Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee. Unite, here we go again, all right? Unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house, or in the process's house, in the house of
the process which mother chose.
the signs, the planets. What is the other name?
I mean, but what house is that? Let's talk about that. No, let's be adults, we're adults, right? Okay. So mother and father, I'm gonna say it lawfully. Experience coition. During coition or coitus, as it is, C-O-I-T-U-S, coitus or coition. Okay? The houses that pertain to coition are off the break in my mind, in my heart. House 5 and house 8. That's funny, that's 13. Cycles of the moon. Okay? Which is what the ovum does in woman. Every sun revolution. Let's see that. 13 sun cycles of it. Alright? House 5 in astrology deals with Leo, children, creativity. On one level of children and creativity, we may think the physical of coition, or what we call sexual communication. That's what intercourse is. You check intercourse in Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, it's communication.
Right.
Sexual is the adjective describing the type of
communication, right.
taking place. All right? So, with that being said, what one must notice that dealing with you saying father's house, processes house, processing and the creativity in house 5 deals with your heart, deals with Leo and the ego because it pertains to the sun.
Yes.
Okay? That's a fire house as well then. And it's a, hold on, don't get me, it's a succedent house as well because it's a fixed
All right.
sign.
Right.
Leo.
Right.
All right?
Fixed sign, right.
So it's dealing with being, some people would say stubborn, some people would say focused, depending on which pole that energy is.
Right.
And when you're talking about creativity. Because it's not just the intercourse that could happen physically between mother and son, it's also the intercourse that happens between hemispheres pertaining to your brain. Okay? One being Osiris, one being Isis, and the progeny, creative thought that comes from that is
Wow.
the eel, is the Heru. So Isis, Ra, Amen-Ra, Elohim, once again, which would make us, that's why I see where when people say Israelites, that's a state of mind.
Right, it's a higher consciousness.
Right, because what you're saying is my left and right brain have had intercourse and produced the higher consciousness, produce the Christ degree.
Right.
Islam?
And Israel is actually a combination or hybrid.
Islam. Of the,
Isis, Elohim, Amen-Ra.
yes, indeed. Now, I want to, you know what, I would love to go in on that too, because when we're talking about the Elohim as well, which is the 7 creative spirits
Right.
in your 101,
Right.
Brother Taj goes in on the microprocessus video, okay, and you know that's dealing with the mother and father principle.
Right.
This is what we're talking about too in chapter 25, okay? We're talking about fixed, we're talking about the
Yes.
sun.
Yes.
Sun is ruling the Eloah Mikael,
It's
or
fine.
what we call Sunday.
It's fine.
Okay, somebody, well, I guess some will call that the angel Michael in some dispensations, but that's an angle. Okay, so with this particular angle that I'm speaking on now, we're discussing is in Ayat 2 pertaining to chapter 25.
Right.
Alrighty? 8, when you're dealing with 8, now you're talking about, okay, in ancient astrology, I didn't see Pluto mentioned as much.
Neither did
Mars
I.
is though.
Right. That's a good
So
point.
now you're talking about a water sign, okay, dealing with your the 8th house. The 8th house is death and regeneration.
Right.
You can get Pookie and Ray Ray to understand it as OPP. Other
OPP.
people's property.
Yeah.
Okay, joint ventures, joint anything. That's Scorpio, and it's also fixed. So house 5 and house 8 are both succedent. Somebody tell me right now. Look on your Google. Tell me what succedent is. Just type simply in your Google what is succedent in astrology. And we'll see how this ties
Who's online?
into-
Anybody online right now? 'Cause I got
to Ayat 2. Say it out loud.
Spell it.
Spell what?
Succeeded.
You got it. already?
Succeeded. Okay, my bad. My apologies. Thank you. Help me out.
At the bottom.
All right, good. Okay. Well, let's just do all 3 of them. This will be vocabulary, I guess. Angular. Succedent. And the last one is cadent. Well, cadent. Cadent. Right? Angular, succeeded, cadent. This energy is correlative with the cardinal energies. This is correlative with your fixed energies. This is correlative with your mutable, some will say flexible energies. All Geminis, raise your hand.
In the building.
All right. You saw that, right? You saw how she did that?
Yeah.
With the Gemini ego?
Uh-huh.
That's that muted cadent, because she's been quiet the whole time, but when I said Gemini's in the building, raise your hand. Not only did I say raise your hand, but she was flexible in how she did so. That's how it manifests. Me and you did your chart before. And
Yeah.
We was talking about.
Yeah.
So you already know.
Yeah. And I appreciate you for doing that too, because that's been very helpful.
You know what I'm saying? All praise to the mommy. You know what I mean? Islam. So now, Cecilia, what is it, Brother Aaron?
Oh, in the zodiac, I mean,
What
in
is
far as the
succeeded?
it's a term of houses that follow, i.e. succeed to angular houses in astrology, in the astrology charts. Since the angular houses are the first, fourth, and seventh of the 10th houses, the succeeding houses are the second, fifth, eighth, and 11th houses.
Second, fifth,
Fifth,
eighth,
eighth,
and
and
11th. Does anybody recognize a Bible scripture there? Brother Taj knows it. I'm not just
Eighth, fifth, fifth, the
He
fifth.
knows it. I know he knows it.
Fifth, 11th.
One more time. Read that. Did I spell it right? Is it two C's or one C?
It's two C's. It's
And
two
one E,
C's.
right?
Succedent.
D-E-N-T. So I spelled
D-E-N-T.
something wrong. My apologies, y'all. My apologies.
Is an astrological term for the houses that follow, i.e. succeed. The angular houses and an astrological chart. Since the angular houses are the first, fourth, seventh, and 10th houses, the
Yeah.
succeedent shall be the houses that are the second, fifth, eighth, and 11th.
11.
She got it. Here.
I was waiting for her to
Father's
give it.
house, how many mansions?
Hold on. That's not that. But I
Close,
want you to
close,
talk
close.
about- I want you to talk about the four. I want to say it's the
Disciples?
No. It's the four. It's the beast with four heads. Am I quoting that right?
Yeah.
It's the beast with
You're
four
talking
heads.
about,
Man,
Is that Ezekiel?
Ezekiel, we saw
Come on.
the beast.
Had four
in the
heads.
face of
Bear.
an ox and a
Uh-huh.
tree.
Stop. What's the ox? Say ox, right?
Taurus,
Okay. Which house?
the second.
Second house.
Okay.
Yeah, the house.
What's
Sorry,
the next
second
one?
house.
What's the
Yeah,
next
right.
animal?
The lion.
There's a
Okay. Okay, there you go. All right, that's right. Which is house?
The fifth
The
house.
fifth house.
Okay.
Ooh.
What's the next animal?
Is it going into
Squirrel.
Oh, it's going into the eagle. The eagle.
Which is what?
Corpse.
There you go. What's the last one? You see it now? Which is who?
Yeah.
Him right there with the cap on.
Go ahead, brother.
Aquarius.
Yeah.
The water bear.
And that's
The
11.
Bible is an astrology
Book.
book.
That's right.
I know neutrality says don't get rid of your Bibles. I'm going to use them to condemn the government.
To condemn that government. Yep.
Come on. I'm sorry. Let me calm down.
Keep going.
No, you on fire.
Sometimes you joke about people like that. You ever seen somebody get on stage and they moonwalk like that? I'm just saying, y'all getting pumped up. Y'all getting pumped. My bad.
That's a form of flattery.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah to you.
Y'all reach. Y'all reach. Sorry, y'all.
No, go ahead. Go on with it.
No, I wanted us to go through this to make these correlations.
Right.
Because when we're talking consular court, right? Seriously.
We're talking relationship.
For me, it started with not just, consular court really, once I came into the knowledge for real about my nationality and birthright, I realized consular court started when my mother didn't decide to abort me.
Islam. That's right.
I got my fan now.
All right.
When she made the conscious decision.
I got vision now. I got vision. Yeah, I got vision. Yeah.
Come up there and put it away.
Come on.
Yeah. One hand up.
Seriously, all right. Seriously, I don't know how to take a compliment. I gotta stop.
It's good work, brother. It's good
That's
work.
okay.
It's
You
good
gotta
work.
learn your lesson.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's good work.
Alright, so what it is, okay, so it started with let's really talk about the elephant in the room, okay? Consular court has been something that, if I'm not mistaken, I remember, I was here, Brother Troy was here, I think the family right here, like we all were here. And you brought the questions, and I was ready to get the drive and all that. It's 108 questions, which I have some of them answered. I haven't even completed all my questions. You know what I'm saying? As far as answering them, though I know the answers to them and where to find them, but I want them to be complete. But that doesn't excuse me for not knowing it. You heard that, brother Najiel, right? I didn't finish it yet, but I got it. I'm going to finish it, brother. What people are doing, they're finding these questions. They're getting them. And they're excited about moving on them. And I don't knock that. I'm the same way. I moved on my nationality and birthright so hard that my documentation got sent back to me twice because I'm so hard-headed. So if I have to notice the log in my eye first, now I have to find an approach in rehabilitating myself so I can better meet you where you're at. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I wanted us to be able to now not look at even websites that have the information and be like, oh man, there's so much on eBay, I don't know where to start. If I really wish, now I'm just gonna tell you, take what you got from the church house, hold on to it, just realize there has been a fraudulent conveyance of language. Is that the term that Brother Committee used on Friday?
Yes, because it is.
Okay.
Now that would be called, in the process,
Go ahead.
misuse of semantics and
Yes.
connotative linguistics.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
It's
indeed.
against the law.
Translation, common language, deceit.
Yes. Which is ultimately, you would have to prove it, but it's treason.
Islam.
You know, because now at the end of the day, but even though it was, they would say you volunteered, which would be they're out. But now we have to not rely on being mean to those that we were in Congress with.
Islam.
Congregation. We can't be, upset with those. What we can do, though, is renew our mind. How? Here's a perfect example. John 1 says what?
In the beginning.
Come on, Brother Troy. I'm trying to tell you, that's a walking Bible.
You started.
Not Dr.
Come on with it.
I'm trying to tell you,
Come on
Dr.
with
Naila
it.
be chilling.
That's
Dr. Naila
Taj.
be chilling.
That's Taj right there. Taj know that book too. He be hiding.
Hold on, Dr. Naila, you got
Y'all
Naila.
forget. Dr. Naila know that book too, y'all.
Oh yeah, that's right. We got Dr. Naila in the room. Yeah. Come on, Dr. Naila.
I heard.
You know, you know.
Beginning was the Word,
Uh-huh.
and the Word was with God. Word was God. The Word was with God. And the same. Let me see.
The word came flesh.
The Word became flesh and dwelt among us.
Okay, right? So now, concept, right?
Make sure they don't forget that part. The word became flesh and walked among us. People leave that out.
Concept. Concept, all right? Context with weaving. Concept with seeing. Concept. In the beginning there was the what? The word. Etymology. No, my pastor said though. Okay, he said Jesus is the word, right? You believe in Jesus, you believe in the word, then let's go and show you how you analyze Jesus. Nah, man, I'm just supposed to believe and have a relationship. Do you see the spell? That's when Brother Taj be talking about when you bring etymology, it's likened to throwing them a plaid raft, life raft. They go, is that plaid? It's against my beliefs. That's the same thing. Here's etymology. My pastor said that God said, oh, he said that to call upon said what? Who called it out? What do you mean, man? No, I'm talking about the Lord in heaven. Oh, okay. So you're talking about astrology now.
Right.
Good. Tell me about it. Which Lord? Which house? Man, this brother crazy. I'm trying to talk about Jesus and the word, and he talking about astrology, man. He said don't be doing that fortune telling and stuff. No, it don't. That's not what I thought it was, because if you don't,
Interjection.
I mean, it does say it.
While you on that, Dr. Naila, can you tell me from I think it's the book of Luke, which chapter that was, where it outlines how the term Jesus is actually outlined in the Bibliohelios, that the term Jesus means justice?
No, I don't know.
It's in Luke. I think it's in
But
the...
I do want to say, if I might, I do want to add that I recently was looking at
Right, we saw, so it's in there.
something that dealt with the Dead
Say
Sea
Jesus.
Scroll interpretation of, the Dead Sea Scrolls that we didn't get, and that particular scripture that you just quoted in my father's house.
Right.
The scrolls say, in my father's universe, there are many orbs and places to live.
That's the
Yes, that's right.
The original says, in my father's universe, very many orbs and places to dwell. And I have a video of that little section of it, and it's from the Dead Sea Scrolls. I actually have it on my.
Right.
Now,
So-
repeat that, Dr. Naila, and then read your first 3 questions on the questionnaire after she reads that. please.
Islam.
In my father's house, there are many orbs and dwelling places where, and it says basically where not, where you and others of my creation or something, can dwell. But it talks about orbs and dwelling places and not mansions, not physical structures like people have been. Yeah, the illusion that we have of some heavenly dwelling place. But it's saying that there are other planetary bodies and so forth and places which to dwell.
Which qualifies as astrology book.
I mean, you said or.
Yeah, let me pull it up.
You said or, right?
Yeah, let me see if I can get the
Man,
that.
that's straight
I mean,
up
what-
cosmology.
I mean, I see the word orbit.
I think I have it on here.
I see,
But how close they are, each planet is to the next one.
yes,
Let me-
within
that's the
5 to 10
measurement.
degrees.
Let me
Yes.
see if I have it and then I'll share it. I actually had it playing on my television and I was recording it because I thought that part was so amazing that I just needed to keep it.
Islam.
Okay, here we go, gallery. Where is it?
Like our father's house with many mansions.
Okay, let me see that. This was in 1993.
Yes.
Let me see if this is.
Give her the mic.
She has
Let me
it.
see if I can.
But there are in astrology 28 lunar mansions. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brother Taj, but it's 28 lunar mansions in astrology. I actually have that document on me. I can share that with you. I have that.
And
document.
when she reads that, then do you read first 3 questions in the questionnaire
The question is,
with the answers?
okay.
Means to disturb, or to stir up, or to upset. I think that's what they think of us now. Stir up, or to upset. I think that's what they think of us now. In the Aramaic language, you read, in my father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, I would have told you. The King James 1611 version says, in my father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. The Dead Sea Scrolls look at it a little differently. The Dead Sea Scrolls says, do not permit your pure mind or your hearts to become troubled in any form, but rather allow your faith and your belief to solely rest in Almighty God. You believe wholeheartedly in Almighty God, the Master speaking, you will also believe with all of your heart, mind, and spirit in me. In our universe, not in my Father's house, in our universe, which I have created, there are multitudes of places and orbs, which along with the earth shall be your future dwelling place. Stop for a moment. A lot of people in the religious world, they think that after they die, they're going to float around on a pink cloud strumming a harp. Different. Or a guitar or a whatever. Not so. If the Master says in my Father's universe are many dwelling places, and he also says there are a multitude of places. The next verses I have prepared many places for you to visit and also places for you to dwell in the future. In reality, because I am God, I shall be with you always, everywhere, and you will always find me accompanying you. And when the time is ripe, R-I-P-E, you shall know that I have already made a way for you to be transformed, and then you shall dwell with me in these other places. In that manner, you shall never be apart from me again, surely I will be with you always. I have already made provision.
Provision.
So do not allow your pure mind, nor your pure heart, or your spirit to become disturbed. I am well aware that the evil one and his followers have already tried and attempted to try your faith. He is very busy, and his evil activities shall increase in the time of the end.
Islam.
Now read it, chapter.
His own angels, whom I have cast out of the heavenlies, according to the book of Revelation.
Okay, yeah, just so, he was I guess they called him a renegade. He used to be a Christian, he was a Christian pastor, but he believed in what we would call extraterrestrial beings. He wrote a book called Stranger in the White House, in the Pentagon, because he wrote about Valiant Thor. He met Valiant Thor, the so-called extraterrestrial that spent 3 years in the Pentagon under the Eisenhower. The same one that I heard recently being channeled, a guy was channeling him, and he said that he was a walk-in, Barack, the one you call Barack Obama. So, but this I thought it was so interesting. That's why I'm glad I copied it from my TV. I didn't know we were going to talk about this today.
Now consider the generally hidden politics with Dwight D. Eisenhower's administration, including an expansion on the propagation to block the diversity of this universe and our communications here, and the shutting down of consular courts. They may seem unrelated, but they are. Including him making agreements. They didn't want to cure anything. They want to make agreements for more weaponry to maintain their unum sanctum policy on the planet. And logically, with us being the firstborn and the heirs to this estate, it is most important from their political perspective to block us from becoming cognate of both the real politics and our relationships with each other.
They did not make the agreement with the Lemurians. They made it with Greys.
Because there's a lot of different grades. So you got what they call, because some of them are androids.
Right.
Some of them are androids.
Like Zuckerberg.
Yeah. And they're actually like living computers, some of them. And then you have some, because actually they haven't really named all of them, because you have different ones with even different shaped heads. But the issue is the idea that this is new to us is false, and they don't want us to recall our history. Because you recall your history, or if you recall your history and you start contemplating, they don't want you to come into total recall. Because then what happened, yes. Because you'll solve the problem like overnight.
Islam.
There was a movie called Total Recall.
Yeah.
Just, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just want to add, they brought this valiant Thor allegedly brought a book full of knowledge, interstellar knowledge to the White House. Gave it to Eisenhower. They kept him. He stayed there. Ended up staying here 3 years, but they gave it to him because it had cures for longevity. There were all kinds of health cures in it. How to get into wars and all that. The government kept it for a year and handed it back to him and said, "I'm sorry, but this would compromise. This would destroy the economy of the country. Do you have weapons?" So instead of them taking the cure for giving not necessarily immortality but longevity, curing illnesses, and there's a certain cycle that we go through, but it doesn't have to be as short as we live now. He brought all of that to them, and they rejected it in favor of wanting technology for weapons of mass destruction.
Wow.
The shortened lifespan is not the nature of the being, but it is actually a result of electrical vibrational alterations by the dark priesthood to shorten our lifespan in order to extract certain energies and then shutting us down so that we don't evolve. And this is essentially what's happening. So they don't really extend your lifespan, just put it this way. In the third dimensional cycle, is actually they stop interfering with it. And that's a misconception that a lot of people have about the human life form, because the human life form in third dimensional order can actually, average in the area of 900 to 1500 years, and within most of the year cycle. Because the truth of the matter is, it doesn't even kind of age in a sense only in increments of sevens. Meaning what we look at in the year cycle of the biological age would reflect only minorly like every 7 years. Now the other issue is with actually some of the gold in the water. We're not talking about the earth gold. It's gold that we used to extract from water in different noble points on the planet that is used in circuitry and is also taken into the body, that actually counteracts the dark priesthood poisons and just simply restores life, meaning that it stops the aging that we keep thinking is the natural process, which is really not a natural process. It is a war act. And by us being under Roman occupation, they taught the people that this is the cycle, and that things that they could introduce could interrupt the cycle and prolong when actually it's flipped. So that the people don't know that they're warring on us. Because even if you start thinking, in any manner that rebukes Rome, it's almost like opening a doorway to the Akashic energies. And she'll come herself and start mending your wires. They're abstracts. But, and this is again why they don't want people to think, to learn critical thinking. And it is this psychology of the dogmata that is necessary for the dark priest to control, because they actually, outside that, they have no power. So they have to, in other words, they don't make us believe. They impose that we accept to believe that what they're saying in the nature of what they're claiming God is, which actually causes us to shut down our pineal gland and not trust ourselves. And that's where they feed. They feed in that area. And from their political perspective, it's important to keep that vibrational state with us. That's that, and the whole politics is that. And this is why it was so important for the priesthood to invoke Indexus Librorum Expurgatorius, Indexus Librorum Prohibitorum, which is essentially what the world refers to loosely and not totally correctly as the Great Book Burnings. And this is also why the counter energy, like Noble Drali says, and particularly for those who come to the cognates of the ascended life, in order to change the people, you must produce literature. And these are just simply what you call counter reflections. Yes. And when you have a cognizance of maxims of law, maxims of ethics, the phenomena that pretty much govern this universe, or the 7 Hermetic laws, Hermes Trismegistus, etc. You can use these even in the aggregate as measurement tools, not for judgment, but to see. And so you address all beings with these constitutional principles. So when you're talking enforcing the Constitution, it not only means from the base aggregate surface that we appear constitutional government, because those are actually rooted in ancient Kabbalistic principles. And so you're looking at molecular constitution, electronical constitution, linguistic constitution, ethic and moral constitution principles that are universal. So I just want to throw that in, but I also wanted you to read 1, 2, and 3 of the questionnaire with the answers, and then reflect on what Dr. Naila shared with us, and then reflect back on the unity, and then reflect on the Europeans' priesthood, what they know.
Yes.
Now, what that European brother was sharing is what all priesthood know anyway. They don't come to that.
Right.
Is when they decide to take a position honestly. Not unlike, and I would say not with the same energy and not with the same total honesty, but in the direction of that. This is where Ray Hagen's came to too, as an example. But without any interjection more, please introduce.
All right, it says questions, lot 1. In
The
law,
questionnaire, please read what it is, what you're reading from, the document that you're reading
all
from.
right, I apologize. From the restoration of the consular court.
No, you're reading from the questionnaire, 1, 2, and 3, from the questionnaire.
Oh, from 101.
Oh,
From the 101.
You know what? I thought you meant the Consular Restoration.
No, I wanted to show you
The 101.
what I wanted to show, and I want to show the correlation, which is basically what you've been showing us and teaching us,
yes.
to show you the layers that are in the questionnaire that immediately a lot of people don't recognize because it seems so simple,
Right. Yes.
and yet it isn't.
It's not. It's not.
But go ahead.
The first
It
one,
reaffirms what you was
the first
saying.
one, who made you?
Allah.
Allah. Who is Allah?
Allah is the Father of the universe.
Can we see him?
No.
Why?
Because he's in our heart.
Islam.
And where do you meet him though?
In the heart.
Where do you meet him?
In the heart.
And where is the heart? Let me ask that. Where's the heart? Anybody know where the heart is?
I would say the mind.
Right here. But we both mind.
It's in the whole of the body. It's in the aura. Action.
I just borrowed it.
But from an organic position, from an organic position, you say do guard. All right? Now, the point that I'm making is Allah is the Father of the universe. And then when you go back to the original script, the house is the universe. And the zodiac is the mansion.
Yes.
And so when the priesthood, when the bishoprics, not so much the bishoprics, but the rabbinates present it, and they say, in my Father's house there are many mansions, they simply flip. And when it's supposed to be in my Father's mansion, there are many houses. And then in my Father's universe, there are many orbs.
Yes.
And so the houses of the lords are actually the 7 ruling planets in this particular solar system. And even though you may ascend and travel outside of that, this is more than enough for you to do here.
Yes.
However, you've been under quarantine,
Yeah.
if you get the point. And so what Rome has really been doing is, in reality, trying to stop the lords of the Aquarian cycle from entering in.
Saturn and Uranus.
There's no reason why the chem clouds.
Right.
Because went through the Futon belt.
Yes.
We're coming to the center of the universe. The Aquarian lords are coming in. They cannot survive anyone that's not harmonic with this planetary vibration must leave or change form. I mean, that form can't survive on this planet. All right? So they're trying to kill us off, defile the earth, stop the growth, and survive. They're arguing global warming because they really want to cool the earth so that they can try to stay here.
Right.
All right, so you got to really understand the politics. However, let's look at this. Nevertheless, there were agreements made. And the agreements are galactic. They're universal. Regardless of what they say, they're still obligated. Problem. The major frontline heirs are dead. Civilly dead.
Okay.
Not totally spiritually dead, because they're still breathing. But philosophically dead. All right, no, in violation of our law,
Yes.
causing our fall.
Yes.
So, when you go into Septuaginta, and the Lord, God of this universe, so to say, God Allah, so you must know what that means. The mother says, look what you have wrought. Talking about that last of the hybrids. Says, you go in the house. We'll deal with this later. I'll take care of this now. We ain't finished. You go in the house. That's what the book is really saying. Take responsibility for Frankenstein. You made him. He's out of order. Don't try to act like you have no relationship.
Islam.
Do you understand?
Islam.
However, not taking responsibility, you've fallen, but you've forgotten yourself. So I come amongst my own and you receive me not. However, you still got to answer to this. And so then he must charge the hybrid aliens with putting their name on us as a curse in order to steal our birthright. So that's what that's all about. It's about the lost estate. However, we can't make a rightful argument until we ourselves come right. So we must get on the square.
Islam.
Islam.
And so the first rule is love.
Yes.
Islam.
And that's why he says you must learn to love instead of hate. It doesn't mean, now, and this is also what the prophet says, you must love that is right, and you must love to get rid of wrong.
Islam.
Now I'm saying that, and so within that, when you study it, within that, it does not mean to be passive, but it does mean to look into your capacity to forgive.
Yes.
If-
Yes, it does. That's exactly what that means.
Look into your capacity to forgive, but stay focused and don't tolerate evil while that is so.
Yes.
Being cognate that which is above, so below. Understand that this was done generations before you, but you must compensate that debt. Nothing is taken out of the universe without something put in its place. All right, so we must take responsibility for the failures of ourselves and other bodies in past cycles in this layer, because there is no time in the way that we look at it, in the way that we measure it. So we must take the responsibility for our fathers. What is the major violation when we start examining ourselves and we go back to the state of mind of our ancient mothers and fathers? We find that there's very few new spirits here.
Right.
There's some,
They're very
few new spirits here.
Got it.
That means everybody's here is just got new bodies. They ain't new.
Ran here before.
And let's not get this twisted.
Right.
In other words, don't confuse the body with the being.
You're right. That's
Yeah, don't confuse the body with the being. But the point that I'm making is simply this. It is our responsibility to reinstate the moral and ethical codes of our forefathers that we but yet our forefathers is ourselves, without doubt or contradiction. You know, and so it is important for us to restate that plane or platform upon which the opposite minds meet, that the shards of the crystal are put back together.
Islam.
Yeah.
So what does that speak to when you talk about multidimensionality also, where we are in multiple places at the same time simultaneously? I mean, that there is nothing but now, there is no past.
That's why you always stay present. In other words, why do we look at the chronology of what has been done? We simply do it to look at the constitution of what we have made, to recognize that all things operate in cause and effect, and that we're co-creators, and we got to take responsibility and stop blaming our stuff on mystical devils and mystical gods that have no ears to hear, no heart to sympathize, no power to save. But it is actually within ourselves that we have given up our birthright to gratify our lower selves or the carnal desires, as if this is only us, as if we didn't know better. Right. Meaning that we've been bullshitting for so many generations that we actually forgot ourselves. But with a little bit of thought,
Come on, boy.
a little bit of honor, it will simply unfold.
Yes.
And therefore, when man unfolds it, God unfolds.
So it's been said that some say we have heard the tyranny of our people in the future. We are the future. We are you of the future. Come to save
What you're waiting for is you.
from the tyranny.
What you're waiting for is you. You know, now, but this is the deal. If you don't know yourself, you can't await yourself.
Right.
If you look at yourself as, I am this, you don't disrespect this for the netherworld. This is the dichotomy of, or the argument of the thesis, antithesis, and dialectic. And the meeting point of the Peru that you see in the scales of justice. If you're meeting that point, that's what you're seeking. And so Drali will give the key in saying moderation is the key. So he's giving you a key. Moderation is the key. It's balance.
Yes.
But in order to see it, you must give up, because mysticism is not exactly what we think it is, because it doesn't mean that mysticism is a lie. It's a codified way of also telling truths.
Yes.
Yes. If you get the point.
Right.
So the deal of it is that we must look at ourselves honestly, shed our bullshit. I'm just putting it in layman's terms.
Yes.
And when you do that, everything else is seen, because all of you have multiple layers of seeing. What blinded you is your belief systems.
Yes.
The things that you have falsely called spirituality was actually blinders. Now, when we get over ourselves, get over our egos,
Yeah.
and our vanity, and take them damn ass glasses off. You know what I'm saying? You can see everything not because it was brought to you, because it was already and always there. We have buried ourselves in falsehood. You know, and just like when you say ring, what is ring? It's a vibration of sound. So the sound and the vibration is healing. You change about vibration, the hertz, etc., and you will actually cross the dimensions. So the higher planes of life are vibrationals. This is why you have no numericals in your first chapter. So the fall is also the rise, if you look at that chapter.
Yes.
So I just want to throw that in support of you sharing the analysis with us,
Yes.
because it's right there in chapter 1. You know, and I wanted you to complete at least the first section of chapter 29, which I would please that you go back to and go into the first and second paragraph.
Yes, she said 25, 28, 29. I'm ready.
Yes.
I was pleased that you,
And I won't digress as much as I have.
I was pleased that you will go back into chapter 29
Okay.
and read the first and the second paragraphs
Okay.
with the mic.
Like,
And she's showing up with that bowl.
yeah, she's showing up with the bowl.
Where's the incense in the room? Get
that's the bowl,
I
ain't it?
paid less for this than the one I paid like 300 for.
Yeah.
This was like 125. I'm like this.
Is that the bowl or is that the bowl?
This is the bowl. This be the bowl.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. That's cool.
I'm a teacher.
Now,
I study with Shaolin monks, so
because what
I
we're
never-
really,
never
and this
thought
is
that
even back to
contradicting
our
myself.
conversation.
Yeah.
I need that. I need that.
But what I'm really trying to
My seafood
present here, and I don't want to take up too much space,
Indeed.
is the relationship of the literature that people don't apply to it.
Yes. Yes. There's a disconnect.
It's right there,
It's-
but you can't,
It's not that you can't.
You
You
can.
have to make the connection.
No,
Yes.
go ahead.
Yes.
I mean, not it wasn't just you have to make the connection.
You must become a part of every part in
Yes.
order for you to recognize it.
got it.
Go ahead, please.
Yes. Okay.
Islam.
Even though I know we're going to complete 25 and 28, but I'm going to stick
I want you to go to
pointedly with 29,
yes.
the first two paragraphs. O thou, the favorite of heaven, whom the sons of men, thy equals, have agreed to raise to sovereign power, and set as a ruler over themselves. So that's an election that's happening there. Just the, when you elect a sheep over a sheep, correct?
No, read
Well,
it, then
Okay,
analyze it.
indeed. Consider the ends of the importance of their trust far more than the dignity and height of thy station. 2. Thou art clothed in purple,
Seated,
and seated on a throne.
yes.
The crown of majesty invested thy temples. The scepter of power is placed in thy hand, but not for thyself were these ensigns given, not meant for thine own, but the good of thy kingdom.
All right. So the sovereignty belongs to the people, and what has happened with the rulers, and that same principle in all of the orders. They have made an oligarchy for themselves and have stolen the birthrights of the people and claimed the throne as being their own and doing arbitrary rules under a color of law and a color of authority to the injury of the people, actually stealing their birthright. And now you understand why Drew Ali wrote that letter to be read before every meeting, and you recognize who's who because it uncovers them, because the ones who choose not to read it have told you who they are.
Yes.
There we go.
And mathematically, that letter was written 6 months after this.
Yeah. There you
That
go.
wasn't even a whole year.
There you go. And remember the Moorish Science Temple of America.